Recording just started.
Thank you very much. Somebody has music on. Yeah, thank you very much for leaving that out. So good evening, everybody. And first, of course, I have to share thank you to, first of all, Ming Yu from the Threefold Learning Community in Chengdu, and Dan Dan and many others who help to set up this event. And of course, the translators, Chichi and Apple. And then the IPMT Malaysia, like Samantha is here from the IPMT, who are also volunteers helping to make this event possible. Then also Demeter China with Professor Shen Li, Mona, and Hermin, who also supported this event. Thank you very much. And of course, all of you who are participating from many different countries. Thanks a lot. So one thing I need to say on this 2nd of May, 2022, that the work here in the World Gutianum Association and in SECEM is really very much about bringing peace and prosperity, and not just in words, but in deeds. And while we are sharing thoughts this evening, at least here in Asia, it's evening, I would like also to remind of the many disadvantaged people in the world. Many people are suffering from war. I'm just mentioning Yemen, Ukraine, Myanmar, and there are many others where people are at war. I'm also looking at people in jails. I'm mentioning Julian Assange. There are people actually in concentration camps, and there are people, millions, in lockdowns. For example, in Shanghai, and I know that some of you are watching here, being with us. So we're thinking all of, we're doing this event not only for us, but for all other people who are less advantaged than we are, and can maybe not watch this and cannot maybe work for the good that we are able to do. May 2, that also means we're in a very special time, and maybe that has to do with what is happening on Earth, that out in the sky in the morning, we can see 4 planets lined up in a line. And right now, when you go out tomorrow morning, Venus and Jupiter are so close, the largest planets in our solar system. It's most beautiful. And this kind of thing has not happened for 1,000 years. So you can, that's happening all over this first half year of 2022. There's constant changes, but always in the morning, it's more than worthwhile watching out for what's happening in the morning sky before the sun comes up. Same thing now, right now, for those where the sun just went down. Just after the sun went down, there is Mercury, very visible, and the moon sickle, that is just after new moon, is now possible to see it again, and they're in conjunction. So it's very interesting that today we have SECEM, which is the word for sun, and we have out there the moon, which reflects the sun, and we have the Mercury in conjunction with the moon, which is the messenger between the sun and the moon and the earth. And that the moon sickle can just be seen now. That's the reason why some people cannot participate right now, because they're celebrating one of the 2 most important festivals of Islam, Eid al Fitr. So thank you very much for those Muslims who are able, who do watch now. And the question was, some people said, oh, this is about biodynamic agriculture. And then I said, oh, I thought our headline was, what is association? So I'm not sure if the people misunderstood what this is about. Because actually what we're doing in the World Gutianum Association, it's about entrepreneurs. Actually, entrepreneurs are coming together. Enterprises are coming together, trying to see what they can do to transform our life. But of course, every human is an entrepreneur. Every human is an artist, potentially at least. And so this is about how can initiative humans work together in creative ways. That is association in, as I'm trying now to say it, but actually that's the question mark. No, we want Helmy Abouleish to share about that, what he has experienced as association. And of course, that is based on agriculture. Why is that? Because agriculture is the basis of culture. We can learn such a lot from agriculture if we observe well. We can understand a lot how to do business in sustainable ways, actually even in truly regenerative ways. We can learn how to make a situation better, how to produce topsoil, how to produce biodiversity. And that what we learn from agriculture, we can use in many different fields, not necessarily exactly that, but we have schooled our faculties in agriculture to be able also to see similar phenomena in other fields. So when Helmy was 16 years old, he moved with his father and his family to start Sikkim in Egypt. That was 1977. And just 7 years later, he was only 23, he became the CEO of that company. That was, so 1984, in other words, 38 years ago. Quite a bit of experience in leading such a business, which has grown overwhelmingly. And I would think, the company itself, although it has founded a university, among others, is actually still the smallest part of what Sikkim and Helmy are doing, because the positive influence is immense. And so we're really very honored to have Helmy tonight. And I just want, before I ask him to start, I just want to say one thing still, to remind us that the internet, the Zoom, it needs extra awareness. Actually, in a way, it makes us like sleep in a certain way. And that's why we really need special power to keep us awake. And I myself, I have a diary, I have a notebook where I take notes, and that keeps me more alive to what is really happening. And that's what I wanted to suggest. And then, dear Helmy, may I ask you to start out? And the idea is that, yeah, we can always come in with questions. It should be a conversation rather than a lecture. But again, please base it on what was already said and on the studies you have done on the websites that I shared with you. Thank you very much again for joining, everybody, and special thanks to Helmy, please.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum on this blessed day, and I'm really very, very happy and honored to join you, a big crowd from Asia, of which Egypt is part of, a small part of. And I'm also happy to see some friends from Asia. I'm seeing friends from Europe. I'm seeing friends even from the US, to my surprise. So I'm really happy to have this global people in front of me. And I would love to share with you our practical experience on the topic of association. I'm not going to give you now a theoretical discussion on the topic, but I really want to just share with you some of our experiences, then come into a discussion on questions or comments or remarks or whatever. But to just set the ground, let me start with how it all began. And this was, as Walter already said, it was 1977 when my father, a born Egyptian, who studied, worked, lived, and married my mother in Austria, decided that he wants to go back to Egypt. He wants to go back to Egypt to contribute to the development of Egypt, which had huge challenges, as many countries in Africa, in Asia, and other parts of the world, along all 4 dimensions of sustainable development. It had huge challenges in its agricultural field, which was the basis of Egypt's prosperity for thousands of years, and turned to a totally industrial agriculture in the last part of the last century, when Egypt was the #1 in using pesticides and chemical fertilizers in agriculture in the world. But he also wanted to contribute to the economic dimension of Egypt's development, because Egypt in these years, in the 70s of the last century, just started to apply the only working economic system, which was capitalism in these days, and was very proud of opening up to all ideas of capitalism in all fields. And he thought it's high time to also offer a different approach to the economic sphere. And as a real believer that the most important part of development on Mother Earth is human development, he also wanted to contribute with a new approach and new ideas in education. He wanted to show that potential unfolding of people of different walks of life and rural and urban situations is possible, not only in the West, but also in Egypt. And last but not least, he easily recognized that the huge transition from traditional societal and community development approaches, where family was very much the core of everything we had, into this more individualistic, capitalistic and materialistic Western societal development, and where he wanted to show that intentional communities are the way forward for such societal development and right sphere part. Now, his vision was very much based on his belief that biodynamic agriculture must be the base. And as Walter already said, agriculture is the base of human development, societal development, economic development. And it has this wonderful combination of 2 words, culture and agri. And it actually shows that agriculture is already one of the most valuable cultural impacts and impulses of human beings on planet Earth, and hence a development. Now, so biodynamic agriculture as the base of this development. And I have to say that in these days, there was no biodynamic initiative in the desert. There was no biodynamic initiative in Africa. There was no biodynamic initiative in the Arab world. And so we couldn't build on any heritage. And the experts from Europe told him that biodynamic is not working in the desert and will not work and will never work. And hence, it's a hopeless case. But he was still not impressed and decided to go forward and added another dimension by saying that he wanted to introduce a new format of economic cooperation in the value stream, in the supply chain, which he called economy of love, and which is very much the topic of today's talk, association. But you have to imagine that those who heard about the word economy of love in these days thought this is a crazy idea. and it's about kissing and hugging and not about real economic activity and competition and market share and growth and all these kind of things which are so important in the economic sphere. So nobody did really believe that there is something in economy of love which could really contribute to Egypt's development. So biodynamic agriculture, no-go, economy of love, naive take on economy, but not yet enough, because then he also said that the vision of dynamic agriculture and on the economy of love must always serve the potential unfolding of all its members and the members of the community around. And potential unfolding as our focus, as what he always called Sechem, a big school, was not what other people understood as the core activity of a social, even social enterprise. So by committing himself that everyone in Sechem is not only working, but also learning by working, by doing. Actually, everybody thought this is never going to work, because then it will make everything more expensive, less efficient, less productive, and less profitable, of course. But still not enough, because he added another dimension, and by saying that Sekhem's idea will not be only based on biodynamic economy of love and potential unfolding, but also on community service, on building a community, on investing in building a learning, living organization and community around, where the people not only live, but also learn and work together. So, having this vision set out in 1977, everyone told him this is for sure going to be a big failure. He will lose all his money in the desert, and by all means, he should keep his house in Austria, so that when he is then done in Egypt, he can go back. And this is where my father decided to sell the house in Austria and really make sure that there is no going back, but there will be a development going on. Now, taking on this mission impossible, if you wish, in 1977 was not the logic thing to do, was not the easy thing to do, but it was, as we can see today, after 45 years nearly, we can see that out of this ideas a miracle unfolded. A miracle in the desert, where biodynamic agriculture proved to be very efficient in building living soils, in creating environments, microclimates with biodiversity, with all kinds of crops and animals, and productive crops and animals, producing all kinds of medicinal herbs and cereals and vegetables and everything else needed by the people in the area. And with compost in particular, this black gold for the farmers in Egypt, we could prove that we have a much more efficient tool to fertilize our soils than chemical fertilizers ever be. On the other side, and this is again which to be nearly impossible, but nowadays there are thousands of farmers in Egypt who grow biodynamically, organically, or sustainable agriculture on about 2% of Egypt's overall agricultural area. So not only in Sechem, but also around Sechem, in many, many other places, from Aswan to Alexandria, from the north to the south, biodynamic and organic agriculture is applied in Egypt today. And in processing this biodynamic, very, very beautiful, tasty, valuable inputs, we have set up companies in Egypt, companies to process them, to food and beverages to pharmaceutical products and health products, and to garments and textiles out of biodynamic cotton. Nearly 2,000 people work in this processing of these raw materials. And what is very, very important, 80% of whatever we produce in Egypt, Demeter raw materials, Demeter finished products, is sold in Egypt, which also didn't sound very logical because Egypt is not a very, very rich country, and hence everyone was always advising my father to export the products to Europe or the US or anywhere where there is an organic and biodynamic market. But he was insisting that this kind of products must go to the local markets, must go to the local consumers. And these products nowadays are available in Egypt in nearly 50,000 stores and 25,000 pharmacies, serving millions of customers. And in some of the segments, like in herbal teas, we are the market leaders, and the market leaders against whom? Not only other companies in Egypt processing conventional raw materials, but multinationals like Unilever and Nestle. So it turned out that this economy of love, illusion or dream worked out quite efficient and competitive. Also, as part of this, as important as the economic and agricultural activities, there are schools in Sekem. There are schools hosting 800 kids from kindergarten to high school, vocational training, kids with special needs, illiterate kids, and so on. And a real potential unfolding activity is going on in these schools, a potential unfolding activity which led to huge developments for these kids coming from the rural areas, from farmers and Bedouin backgrounds, and which did prove that there is huge potential in every kid in the world, whether it's in Egypt or anywhere else, if handled in a way which really unfolds this potential. But not only a school, there's also a university, as Walter mentioned. There's the Heliopolis University of Sustainable Development, where 3,000 kids, 3,000 students, girls and boys are educated, and where they can learn about renewable energy, green architecture, sustainable water management, organic agriculture, sustainable economics or social entrepreneurship, or physiotherapy and complementary medicine, or even phytopharmacy. And this is an important work, because this is where the future starts. All these students hopefully will be ambassadors of sustainable development later in their lives, in their context, in their environment, in their communities, to carry on these ideas we have developed. But not only in school and Heliopolis University, potential unfolding is a continuous effort, but there is what we call the core program. The core program, it's a program where every employee of these 2,000 employees has nearly 10% of his working time dedicated to unfold his potential, to find the artist in himself, to learn new things, to exercise music, arts, eurythmy, or just work in the fields, gardens, and so on. And the same goes for the farmers, which are in our network, hundreds of farmers. All of them have a core program which helps them also to unfold their potential. And last but not least, there is this huge community in Sekem, with 5,000 people in the Sekem community, or even more, and 30,000 people around, where young and old and women and men and Muslims and Christians and Europeans and people from all walks of life and all continents work together in an intentional community where 1 and 1 equals 100, not 2, where the synergy between them is enabling them to achieve more than each one of them could alone. So having said all this as a background for this miracle which has unfolded, the question still stands: how is it possible that against all odds, against all logic of nowadays natural science-based world, such a miracle could unfold? And obviously there are many possible ways to try to answer this question, starting with dedicated people and a holistic vision, and going to the impact of biodynamics and economy of love and intentional communities. But I think that all of these items are only one side of the reality. The real thing about SECAM is that SECAM as a community is a community continuously striving to reinvent itself every day, to really search for what is new, search for what it can do more, never ending, never trying to establish something as a recipe to go on with it, but really as a learning and living organization should do continuously developing itself further. So far to the past, and now we come a little bit to the future and to the questions of today. And this all started in 2017 when my father passed away.
Very quick interruption, Helmy. Very quick interruption. There's rustling, there's like a scratching. Maybe people think that comes from your iPad, that you're, there are sounds which in the English, in the Chinese, they don't have the problem, but in the English, they hear this scratching and okay, maybe we can do something about it. Thanks.
I will do my best. Is it better now?
Sounds better so far.
Very good. I will do my best. So anyhow, when I come to 2017, as I said, when my father passed away at the age of 80 years and after serving at SECAM for 40 years, we, the members of the Future Council of SECAM, decided that we have to refocus, rethink, and try to set out our vision for the next 40 years of miracles, to work on a vision for 2057. Now, by looking into what has been achieved and looking into what we want to do in the future, it was very obvious that also all these kind of achievements, which I was just trying to explain, happened in SECAM and were visible for the people. And we have a very open door policy and everyone could come and see them. Not many people did try to go on path. The same path, whether it's biodynamic agriculture, the same path, whether it is potential unfolding in its educational institutions, or the same path in following the principles of what we call the economy of love. So we decided, instead of just managing what we have achieved over the last 40 years, instead of just growing further, having more farms, more employees, more students, we wanted to focus the next 40 years on creating an impact on our society, an impact on the 7 million farmers of Egypt, an impact on the 1.6 million teachers, 2.4 million entrepreneurs, and so on and so on. And to do this, we had to go through a lengthy exercise, an exercise where we really applied principles of presencing, tried to really read what the future wants from us, an exercise where we tried not to focus on what is our past experience to derive what the future wants to bring, but really tried to teach ourselves how to listen to the future, how to open ourselves to the future. And the outcome was a vision for SECAM, where we actually decided that we wanted to be a social innovation lab, inspiring and supporting others to do all kinds of great things in regard to sustainable development, and to really inspire Egypt's population, which is more than 100 million at the moment. We also decided to develop a vision for Egypt 2057. And we came up with 16 aspects, 16 SECAM vision goals in the 4 dimensions of sustainable development. Economic one, the social and cultural one. And just as an example, and you will find them on our website, we did see that in the future, the whole of Egypt will follow sustainable agricultural practices, 100%. That all companies of Egypt in 2057 will follow the principle of the economy of love. That all schools and educational initiatives in Egypt will follow the principles of potential unfolding, and that all organizations of Egypt, whether they are economic, cultural, or political ones, will follow the principles of organizational development based on consciousness development. So having set out this beautiful vision for Egypt 2057, it was very clear to us that obviously nothing will happen if we do not really engage as SECAM. And we decided that we want to do this engagement in 5 steps, where the first step is obviously envisioning. First step is developing the vision. But the second step must be a step where we research how this vision can come into life. Researching it on spiritual and natural science basis, combining our knowledge with the knowledge of other experts in the field, academics, researchers, action research, all kinds of people from Egypt and outside Egypt. So we set up centers, research centers for each one of the SECAM vision goals to work on the issues, to work on the questions, to work on solutions, new solutions. And as soon as we came up with one of these new solutions, new models, we decided that the next step must be a quick prototyping, implementing these new models, implementing these prototypes in the protected area and room of SECAM as a third step on our way to the SECAM vision goals for Egypt 2057. And when these prototypes work and prove that they can achieve what we want them to achieve, then the next step would be upscaling them into the society on a smaller scale. In the villages around us, with the farmers in Egypt, but on a smaller scale. And if we are really doing our job, then until 2027, in 10 years from the start of this new vision, we wanted to be ready to deliver these models in the upscaling phase to then go to be mainstream over the next 30 years, to really reach the critical mass and the tipping points to make the system change, which is evident, which must come to make this system change happen. So these are the 5 steps which we decided are the steps we are going to follow for each of the 16 SECAM vision goals for Egypt 2057. And now I would like to apply these 5 phases with you for 2 of these 16 SECAM vision goals. One of them being that sustainable agriculture will be mainstream, will be 100% applied by all farmers of Egypt, and the other one, that the economy of love will be applied by all organizations and all businesses in Egypt. Let me start with agriculture. When we looked into in the Center for Organic Agriculture at the Heliopolis University, what is the issue? Why is organic, biodynamic, or sustainable agriculture not mainstream yet? It turned out that the most and foremost raised concern was price. A lot of people, including the politicians and the Minister of Agriculture, the academicians, all of them said, yeah, organic is wonderful and biodynamic tastes much better, is good for the environment, and we love it. But it's expensive. Egypt's population cannot feed itself with these expensive products. So we need conventional agriculture to feed our people. And so we worked on this. We did a true cost accounting exercise at the Heliopolis University for Egypt's most important food crops. And guess what? Biodynamic and organic agriculture is much cheaper if you would not externalize all the negative impacts of conventional farming in the conventional agricultural process. If you would not externalize the impact of water, climate, health, society. So the illusion, the maya of this whole story is that organic is expensive, but it's not. Biodynamic is expensive, but in reality, it's not. We just have to prove that the accounting is not correct. So we looked into this matter of the accounting and found that there nowadays is a huge interest in climate change everywhere in the world, that agriculture is not the major topic in the discussion on agriculture, on climate change. And hence, we looked into what is the potential of biodynamic agriculture to sequester CO2 from the atmosphere into its soils, into its plants. What is the potential of biodynamic agriculture to avoid methane emissions of organic waste or by using renewable energy? And guess what? The research said there is a huge potential. So we set up a prototype in one of our farms in the desert called the Sekel Mohat farm, and we called this project Greening the Desert. And in 2019, we started to experiment on the carbon sequestration or emission avoidance potential of biodynamic agriculture. And what happened was that it was the huge potential. Each acre of our desert land could prove to sequester or avoid emissions of up to 20 tons of CO2. Now, what does this mean? It means that if you can sell this carbon, this agricultural carbon credits in a voluntary market for 20 or 25 euros per ton, which is still much too cheap and will go up more and more over the years to come, then there is an additional income of nearly 500 euros per fadan, per acre, which is more farming per acre. So we were very happy to find this. We started to market these agricultural carbon credits as economy of love carbon credits in the voluntary market in Europe, in Egypt, and we're able to sell them and create an additional income. So then we came to the upscaling phase. We said, okay, if this works for us, it must also work for the smallholding farmers of Egypt. And we went in 2021, last year in January, we went out to reach out to 2,000 farmers, smallholding farmers in Egypt, to implement the same concept with them. And by doing so, these farmers now are working biodynamically. They are selling their products for the same price in the conventional market in Egypt and still have a better income, still have a better livelihood, still
I think we have lost the connection. Octavius, can you still hear Helmy? Wahida, can you hear him?
We lost connection. Yes, can't hear.
Connection. Okay, so let's just take the chance and recapitulate a little bit till he hopefully comes back. I'm sure he will come back in a second. Anybody volunteering to to recapitulate the long story he set out with the past from 1977 till the death of the father with 80 years. And that was already a long story. And then he went into the Vision 2057. Based on the big find was that based on the 4 dimensions of sustainable development, they then set out they created 16 fields where they wanted to have change on a societal level. And for these 16 fields, they actually, for each one of them, they made research centers to research on each and every one. How can they approach that? And he was setting out now to look at with us at 2 of these goals. One of them was the sustainable agriculture, and the other one was the agriculture, the economy of love. And what he was just talking about now was still the number 1, the sustainable agriculture, how to bring Egypt to a state within 40 years till 2057 to a moment where okay, there he is back. I'm just recapitulating, Helmy, what you said. And I've just arrived again in where you stopped, that the vision, the number 1 vision that we're looking at is the sustainable agriculture, how to reach that for the whole of Egypt. Please continue. Thank you.
I'm very sorry that obviously my line is also not very stable today, but I hope that we can continue. So
yeah, by the way, the noises, they were also back now and then. First it was very good, then it came back a little bit, but I'm sure we can take care of it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now let me just continue by saying this was the first upscaling exercise we did with the small-holding farmers of Egypt, but we did the same with the biodynamic movement worldwide, together with our partners from the biodynamic movement worldwide. Today, we are also trying to make the same kind of types every other countries to make sure we have learned and that can benefit farmers in Europe, in America, in Africa, Asia, everywhere. Last but not least, because 27 biggest conference of all this year in Egypt, we have now a concept note together with our Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Culture, really enter into the negotiation climate change conference topic. I
I think we're back. He got lost again, right? So maybe at this point in time, we can have some questions. There's, by the way, there are like 2 or 3 people who are not muted. Please mute yourself. And if I can have questions, please, on the chat box first.
Yes. Hello.
Hey,
Helmy,
hey,
good
we're
evening.
back. We're back. No, wait. Helmy is back. Helmy will continue first. Thank you very much. And please, I'm asking questions on the chat box and do not unmute yourself, please. Please, Helmy.
Okay. Thank you.
I have now closed my video. Maybe this will help us to survive a little bit longer. But anyhow, let me quickly continue. Upscaling for these agricultural carbon credits to make farmers all over the world benefit from their ecosystem services, and to prove that biodynamic farming is cheaper than conventional farming is for us such a paradigm shift from which we hope that the evidence system change to more sustainable, more biodynamic agriculture will come in the future. Now, let me move quickly to the economy of love one, so that we then also have time to reflect a little bit on questions. For the economy of love one, which was another one of our 16 SECAM vision goals, obviously we had some principles developed over the last 45 years. Of the most important and obvious is that we believe that in future, the ownership of companies following associative economy should not lie with individual investors who get benefits from this investments. We believe that this is a structural problem which is the reason for many of the big economic challenges we are facing nowadays in the whole world, of this big gap between rich and poor, powerful and powerless, which must be overcome through a new to themselves, belonging to the cultural sphere, not giving place for speculation and dividends and profits and big yachts and big aeroplanes of entrepreneurs. So this is the one principle which we have also applied on ourselves, and which we believe is the reason why SECAM nowadays can prosper without this negative side effect of capitalistic ownership structures. But then we also went on by saying, okay, the people in the biodynamic movement for 100 years now are working successfully and doing a great job by doing biodynamic products, processing biodynamic products, selling them in the market. But actually, when we look to the standards are very much focused on the ecological side of the world. And we need standards covering all 4 dimensions again, covering the threefold order of society, covering also the societal part, the cultural part, and the economic part. Our associative economy idea in the economy of love must give room for agreements between all members of the supply chain where they can reach living wages, not minimum wages, like the fair trade movement is doing. They must reach fair prices through true cost accounting, not only minimum prices, and transparent pricing, so that everyone knows how the added value is used. And last not least, all of these economic activities of the economy of love movement must serve potential unfolding. Everyone, by working, must learn, must be able to unfold his potential, must be able to exercise his artistic, and other interests and feelings. So, by having said this, we ask ourselves, how can we apply it? How can we do it? In Sekim, we are applying it for 40 years and it worked. But at the same time, we should not forget that there is out there a consumer. And the consumers of the world, these 186 people now on this call, and many, many more billions of consumers everywhere in the world, they are creating the economic reality which we see. Consumers, by their purchase decisions, created Coca-Cola and many, many other products, which are so important, and we are always complaining about them, but we should not forget that we are funding them. So what we have to reach out to is a consumer who really is able to make educated decisions, to move to responsible consumption, and to enable our consumers who do not want to destroy the world, who do not want to destroy the mother nature or societies or people, but they still do, they simply don't know. They go into a supermarket, they find products on a shelf which do not tell them their story, which do not in a transparent way tell them what they are, how did they follow the supply chain to come to the shelf. So we believe that we have to answer to any responsible consumer 4 questions. The first question, what is the impact of the product in front of you on the ecosystem? And all regards. And if it's a very nice Demeter peppermint tea, which you have on the shelf, then you should not forget that what is the value of the Demeter peppermint in this box on the shelf is 12% of the overall value. And you still have to answer the question for the 88 remaining percent, which is the packaging material, the production, the transportation, the energy, and many, many, many other things. So the impact of the product in front of you is not only the raw material. And we need transparent ways to communicate about all the impacts of all services and products in the final product of your decision you want to buy. But we have to ask the same question, what's the impact of these products on the potential unfolding of everyone who was involved? Starting with the farmer on the field, going to the driver who transported this peppermint to a factory, going to the employee in the factory which packed the product, and to the salesperson which delivered the product to a supermarket. And even to the people in the supermarket which sell you the box. So how can we follow up and make sure that by producing this product, everyone could learn, could unfold his potential? We need a transparent answer to this question. As much as we need a transparent answer on what did and how did this product impact society in large? How did it impact not only those involved, but those around? The people in the villages, people in the cities, the community. And last but not least, it should help us also to answer the question, what is the true cost? How did the price come about? And what was this true cost and the fair price of this product if we know all the ingredients, if we know all the inputs? Now, to do this, we have developed a traceability tool in our Economy of Love, which you can find on the website of the Economy of Love, to show this to every consumer who is interested to know the answer. You can go on our products, which are certified Economy of Love, and you will find all the answers to these questions. You will even find, what about the carbon footprint of this product? What about the carbon credits we are speaking about in the agricultural field? How were they produced? How much of them are linked to this box of peppermint? So, to make it very clear, in this Economy of Love cycle, from envisioning to researching to prototyping, we are still in a very early phase of upscaling. We have launched the Economy of Love standard in Egypt. We are now rolling it out to some of our customers in Europe, to some of our customers around the Mediterranean Sea. And we are in a much earlier stage than we are with the carbon credits. But we start to get interest, we start to get questions, and we are very optimistic, as we always were and will be. Because we believe that system change is in the air. The future wants to come. And actually, what most of us should all the time do is to listen to this future, to clean the runway so that the future can land in our organizations. And if we do this, then the miracles are possible everywhere, not only in Egypt, not only in SECAM, everywhere in the world, in every one of your countries, in every one of your organizations. So in this spirit, I wish us all good luck in welcoming the future which wants to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Helmy. So far, at this point in time, I need to say a very short something about the World Goetheanum Association. And I'm going to post also here on the chat box where you can find more information on it. That's this one. And also, because there have few people have come in, quite a few people have come in here today, who have not participated so far and who maybe do not know what the World Goetheanum Association is. You find more about that on that website. And if you want to, if you're interested in further events of ours, then you can send me an email, which I have just posted also in the chat box. Our next two events are on May 19 and May 26. The May 19 is a more internal one. It should be either people who are really already acquainted with us or who really want to contribute and be part of it. So just send me an email in case you're not yet on the list for that evening. It's the same time on the as we started now on May 19. And then May 26, there will be again a public event. If you're interested in that, as I said, just drop me a line. When we now come to the questions, everybody who received this invitation, it's in the PDF. The three websites of SECAM, of Economy of Love. And this is really the basis for this event. So there are people who are really familiar with biodynamic agriculture, with social threefolding, with SECAM, and they really should have priority to ask questions now. A question like, does SECAM use GMO seeds? I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer because we're not starting from scratch. It's all those people who have prepared, who have really read the websites and who have listened, they have all the right to ask questions, but such questions, I'm sorry, I will not transfer. However, there's a question by Xuening. I would like to ask how much the SECAM community is dependent on external water and energy sources. That's the first question.
I tried to put into the discussion of the Economy of Love scheme, which I did in a very short presentation, the issue of water and water scarcity, which is the biggest challenge, ecosystem challenge of Egypt, is very, very, very important to us. So we build the SECAM community, as far as we are farmers, and farming is taking 80% of all water of the world for food. We are very blessed to have the Nile from the one side and to have big aquifers in Egypt, but still we do not have enough water to feed all Egyptians. So we can only feed 50% of the Egyptian population from our own water resources. This is why responsible consumption of water is one of our top priorities. How can we get the best impact and output of water is an existential question for Egypt. The other question of energy, it's very obvious. In Egypt, we are blessed with a lot of sun. We are using renewable energy as much as we can, everywhere we can. And we are experimenting with all kinds of other sources of energy to get 100% into renewable energy sources, even for our transportation and heating and other services. But we are in agriculture nearly at 100% renewable energy at the moment.
Great, thank you very much. The same person, Xuening, is asking how much is Sechem affected by external food prices, with which he means, how much food from outside is actually eaten in Sechem. At least that's how I understand it. If it's not correct, please, Xuening, come in. Do you understand the question, Helmy? Understandable?
Yes, of course, I understand the question. And I want to relax you. Sechem is feeding millions of people in Egypt. Sechem is producing wheat to feed 50,000 Egyptians, not only ourselves. So we are self-sufficient, happily self-sufficient with a lot of crops all over the country, but we do produce much more than we need ourselves. And we feed Egypt's population, growing population. And it's one of our concerns to contribute to food security in Egypt, as much as it's our concern to have raw materials for our products.
I guess some things you have to buy, let's say salt, you're not producing salt yourself. Are there things that you bring in to Sechem?
We are lucky in Egypt. We have big natural salt reservoirs in the north and in the western desert. So we have natural salt harvested in Egypt as a source of salt, for example, for our own use. But we are not fundamentalistic about not getting things from outside at all. We believe in exchange. We believe in getting coffee from Mexico or tea from India. All the kind of products we are not producing in Egypt at the moment. We are happily getting them from other countries. We are happily also exporting those products where there are no alternatives. We are not very much fond of exporting, but we are exporting products to Europe and other places of the world because they are only available in Egypt in Demeter quality.
Thank you. Ika Fernandez from Manila is asking, how responsive has the Egyptian government, national or local, been regarding this initiative?
As I explained, we were always, let's say, highly regarded as pioneers, ahead of our time, ahead of the wave and so on. But as I said, a little bit in this niche of the wealthy, educated people. With this new initiative, which the Ministry of Agriculture is adopting now, we are for the first time now starting to scratch mainstream. And we are very happy that they are supporting it and understand the importance of this initiative for the 7 million farmers, not for Sechem.
I have a question. You mentioned, is it right that you mentioned acre and not hectares?
We are speaking about acres. In Egypt, the traditional accounting is faddan, and faddan is more or less an acre. I see. Mm-hmm.
So 20 tons per acre per year, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So nobody is daring to ask a question anymore now? Oh, many are. Okay, you can read this from Spencer Leung.
Yeah, Helmy, I have a question for you. You hear me?
Welcome. Yes,
Yes,
I hear you.
I'm Bayu from Indonesia, from Bali.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is, what you mean about the economy of love? Is the parameter or is the, can you explain me what you make a definition of economy of love of Second?
I will try once more. I tried.
Oh, sorry, I'm late.
Sorry.
Now you are muted. No problem. I will try once more. Economy of love is, in our understanding, the way how economic activity from the farmer to the final consumer should be done in a transparent way, including the threefold order of society and the economy and the ecology. And really in a transparent way, showing the impact of any economic activity on these four dimensions: ecology, society, culture, and economy. And it's well defined on our website. There is a standard. There are many criteria. There are, including the carbon credit one. And I really welcome everyone to look into this. And I'm also very open, Walter, to share my email so that you can ask us, me, and I will put you also in contact with all the people working on this. There are many people working, but they are in holiday today. And I'll be very happy, very, very happy to cooperate more with you, our brothers and sisters in Asia, and to have some South-South cooperation going on topics, whether it is the agriculture one, the economic one, exchange of experience, information, research, whatever is needed. We are happy to work with every one of you.
Thank you. Challenges in the start of SECEM, was that not sufficiently shared? There's a question about that.
I can tell you that we had endless challenges, huge challenges, problems, crises, catastrophes, all the time from the first day until today. Okay, and I just want to share with you the spirit we are receiving these challenges. From the very first day when we had these first challenges coming up by people pulling out the trees we just put in soil and so on and so on, my father always told us that Allah, our creator, is sending to those whom he loves challenges and problems to learn more and develop themselves more. And obviously, he loves us most overall in Egypt. So he's sending us most of the problems, and we are happy to receive them as possibilities to develop and learn.
Great. Here's a question from Tanas Tower in India. She's asking for another country which has replicated the SECEM model in a similar desert landscape.
Sorry, Walter, could you repeat? Didn't get the question.
Yes. Could you tell us a bit of another country which has replicated the SECEM model in a similar desert landscape?
No, unfortunately, not yet. We are working in the moment with Morocco, Tunisia, and with some countries in the Arab world, and starting to work with some countries in Africa. But I think I'm sorry to say that we do not yet have other examples in the same context, at least.
Someone is asking about what can you do in the desert if you have no water? I'm telling this person there is water. There's no lack of water in the desert, right?
No. There is water, but you should spend it very, very carefully, and always have in mind these huge water footprints of products, when you have, I don't know, 1 kilo of wheat using 4,000 liters of water, 1 kilo of rice using 6,000 liters of water in agriculture, then you must be very, very, very careful how you spend your water to make the best possible output for people's food security.
Yeah. Selvi from India is asking, you know, she's a biodynamic advisor actually and helps farmers, but she's saying, how did actually the farmers in Egypt accept the method, and what challenges did you have with that?
I can tell you from our experience in Egypt, and we were very lucky to have my father as a translator in the cultural context, because we could, and he could explain how biodynamic agriculture is already rooted deeply in the spiritual sources of the Quran and the Islam. And so for even these illiterate farmers, and they are mostly illiterate farmers we are working with, it was not an issue of studying the agricultural courses of Rudolf Steiner, but it was just a belief in the blessings of Allah for certain connections, deep connections between the beings and the natural kingdoms, and seeing the results of biodynamic preparations, biodynamic compost, and so on their plants, which were more than sufficient for them to believe in biodynamic agriculture.
Okay. Then Octavius from Indonesia is asking, if you were to start Sekem again, what would you do differently, if any?
We are starting to do Sekem again every day, and we try to learn from what we did yesterday and do it better, in a more efficient, in a more holistic, in a more inclusive way every day. And so there is no question that we would, the farm we started 2019, we could develop in 2 years things which we need 20 years for in our original farm in Sekem. So we are learning every day, but this will continue. And tomorrow again, it will be different than today.
Thank you. Then Eddie is asking, did the Egyptian government provide any subsidies, monetary support in the early stage to survive and thrive?
No, not at all. I mean, Egypt's government is under heavy threats and challenges, and they cannot afford at the moment to pay subsidies to anyone. But I think that we could prove that we don't need subsidies if they just give us a level playground. We can prove that we are more efficient and using the resources much better. And yeah, so I'm happy to say that we did not need the financial support, but I would be very happy if they at least create an even play field, so that then organic, biodynamic, or sustainable farmers can benefit from the good ecosystem services. For example, through carbon credits, for example, through not having to buy expensive fuel and chemical fertilizers, and so on and so on.
Here, Krishnendo, who we had in our last event, he has a very beautiful question. How could we have more Sekems across the world?
By joining forces, getting initiatives on the ground. You have our full support. As soon as there are people in the different countries and initiatives and contexts, we will be happy to supply them with all the experience we have. But in the end, it is always the question of the people involved. And only if they are going to believe in this vision, only if they are going to cover all 4 dimensions. And it's not about, as at the beginning said, it's not about biodynamic agriculture alone. as biodynamic agriculture, we would have failed. Okay, but also as a Waldorf school, we would have failed. And as a company, a factory producing things, we would have failed. It needs this holistic approach covering all the dimensions and having a community which is an intentional community carrying the idea, the concept, the vision.
So Helmy, how would that be? Let's say, you know, a person that is now participating emails you and says, okay, I want to make the SECAM. There must be some kind of, I guess, basic condition that you say, okay, let's, we can talk, we can support you. What is the basis that you need to start SECAM in the Philippines, in Indonesia? There are a few Indonesians here, in China, different story, and so forth.
First of all, I would invite this group, hopefully group or community which wants to do this, to come to SECAM, to stay with us for a period of a week or two, to get an idea what is going on and to sit with them and talk it through. And if then they still believe that they have the ingredients to make it happen, then we see how we can support them. And I'm sure we can share a lot of things, but there will be many, many, many more organizations worldwide who will support them, as we are only existing because we had a lot of support from many friends, many networks in the world. We are not heroes. We couldn't have done it alone. We only did it with many, many friends from all over the place. And this kind of support will be there for anyone. But let's come, see, join, and make sure that we are aligned. What is it, what we want to do?
So that's also a nice answer to the question of government support. It's not the government, it's civil society that supports a civil initiative, right? That
Absolutely.
you have experienced. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Then how your government are supporting about SECAM in your country?
They are not supporting at the moment. And
really?
I hope, really, yes. And I hope that they will learn this, the things we are doing to support other farmers and other initiatives in Egypt, not us. We do not need their support, but we need them to engage with us, to discuss with us, to exchange with us, and hopefully to take some inspiration and prepare a better environment for other initiatives, other farmers, other schools in Egypt.
Thanks. There's a question which I clarified first. It was first, does SECAM sell carbon credits to big corporations? And it now, not sure, maybe it's not a different person, but the question is, will it cooperate with the Bill Gates Foundation on climate change?
I mean, we have developed within the economy of love standard our guideline to whom we sell economy of love carbon credits. And there must be a certain level of joint vision and commitment. We will not sell to anyone, anywhere, at any time, for sure. But I'm happy to engage in more details. The Bill Gates Foundation will be not on our agenda because they are promoting gene manipulated seeds in Africa. And we are totally against this. So we will for sure not engage with them. But this is only one example. There must be more principles with whom we want to engage. In general, we want to engage with the whole world. But there are certain red lines which we do not want to cross.
Octavius is asking, how long did it take for SECAM to become financially viable?
This is a good question. Actually, I think it took us at least 7 years to come to a break even, not yet a viability, but a break even. But to be financially viable today, it would need a totally different, let's say, development approach. We are not looking for dividends, profits. We are really reinvesting everything we have into the development. So we have to define together what is financial viability. But if he meant break even, it took us 7 years.
7 years, okay. Aha, I was wondering, in the second vision statement, obviously it says something about independent organisms. So the question here is from Singapore, Derek, Vivian, Doreen, Vicky, and Anne. They ask, in nature, every organism is independent and at the same time systematically interconnected to other organisms. Could you please elaborate on the independent?
I mean, this would be a good topic for another talk. What is deep ecology? What is biodiversity? What is our interconnectivity between all the microorganisms in the soil and our stomach? What is interdependency and what is independency from the other side? So I'm very happy to take this as a topic to a next time, but at the moment I can just say we strongly believe that there is a strong connection between all beings on the planet. At the same time, when these beings look as if they are independent in their context at the time, but when you look deeper, you will find interesting connections.
Great, thanks very much. Chat box has no questions in this moment, as far as I can see questions that can be. Okay, the new one. Yes, thank you. Thanks, Derek.
Yes. Helmy, talking about the farm.
Bayu, wait, Bayu. Can you please
Okay.
also use the chat box like everybody else? Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, here's a question. Can you, you mentioned Sikkim is a permanent school where colleagues, workers are always learning. How do you select your collaborators from those on the ground to the more administrative roles, etc.?
I mean, there is from the one side, there are people who apply to us who would like work in Sikkim. And to be honest, at the moment, we have quite a full pipeline of people from abroad, of people from Egypt on different roles they would like to play in Sikkim. And we have quite an interesting interviewing scheme with different circles in Sikkim to make sure that these people really share our vision, share our principles and beliefs, and want to commit on a long-term connection with us. If we search for a certain role and we don't have somebody applying for it, then we would announce this on our website or in our circles, and quite quickly we would get some people to apply, and we would apply on them the same kind of interviewing on many different levels. I'm happy to share the details, but in general terms, interviewing and onboarding and doing a lot of things with people.
So Go asks if this concept would work in poverty or low-income community. I'm telling that Egypt is a poor country, correct?
Especially in the rural areas where we are active.
Cultivation of the microbiome on sand. Okay, that's maybe another question.
I mean, it is the same principle. It's the same principle as everywhere else. As soon as you add compost to sand and start to create a living soil, you are creating a microbiome in the soil, which over time will change and develop and correspond to the microbiome in your stomach and your body. So it is a process which takes years to be established in the desert, but not too many years, actually. I mean, you can see a change in the soils and in the microorganisms in the soil after 1 or 2 seasons already.
Thank you. And Xue Ning is asking about the taxes, local government tax, the tax policy, how much Sikkim is affected by that.
Oh, we are very proudly paying all taxes asked from us, because we want to contribute to a solid, resilient Egypt, and Egypt needs income to build its infrastructure and build schools and streets and services for its citizens. So we are affected as everybody else and very happily engaging on this as hopefully everybody else, not always, but hopefully.
Helmy, do you have any orientation how many compost heaps are being made in, or how many cubic meters of compost are being made in Egypt in 1 year these days?
No, I'm for sure I can tell you that in Sikkim we make about 20,000 tons, but I think in Egypt we are speaking about hundreds of thousands of tons, because compost, which we have introduced in Egypt, is more and more acknowledged as the black gold for farmers, even in conventional agriculture. So everywhere you go now around us and in any part of Egypt, you will find people who make compost, either for themselves or even to sell it to others.
Because Krishnendo makes us aware that this is the International Compost Week this week, you know. So good to know. And Krishnendo is, of course, one of those farmers in India who is making many tens of thousands of tons. And altogether, of course, in India, compost has become very, very big through biodynamics. There's maybe a last question. I'm not totally sure if it's the last, but Derek and company from Singapore, they're coming back to the topic of association. How do the farms and schools collaborate in the community?
We have weekly meetings where we invite the farmers to the schools. We are making sure that the schools serve the farmers and their kids, that the farmers themselves are involved, that they see their kids, that they are celebrating together with their kids. But it's very, very important in our understanding of a sustainable community that the school, the education is serving the local community and the local community is serving the school. And there must be a connection. And the kids must go to the farms to learn farming as much as the farmers must go to the school to learn about education. There must be interest and respect between all parties. And this is what we try to promote.
So thanks, Masa Ando from Dornach and from Japan and Brazil. He asks this very important question. BD farm can save greenhouse gases, but also the one with livestock. So that is very important to understand.
I'm very happy to tell him and us that this illusion that the cows are the reason for climate change is just working for agro industry and concentration camp animal husbandry. But in biodynamic farming, and our farms are biodynamic farmings, including the cows, and we make a total footprint for the farmer, we do not separate. So when I speak about carbon credits in biodynamic farms, it's after deducting the footprint of the biodynamic farm, whether it's for the diesel of its tractor or it's for its methane, for its cows, or everything else where we have also emissions in biodynamic farms. So after all these deductions, we still have carbon credits in biodynamic farms. So the overall system of an agricultural organism in biodynamic farming is carbon positive, not negative.
Super. So very important. Thanks very much for this question. And it's getting more and more interesting now. Medical Dr. Wahida from India, who was sharing in our last meeting also, she asks about community-supported medicine. How is that in Sikkim? How is the health management in Sikkim?
Thank you very much for this question. Another topic which I would like to share with you in detail. We are strong believers of integrative medicine. So integrative medicine basically means that the health of our community members starts with their food, their lifestyle, their happiness at work, and many, many other things. 60%, 70% of the health is not related to medicines or therapies, but to lifestyle. And this is where we focus on at the first place. We have a hospital, we have physicians, we have all kind of also traditional homeopathic anthroposophic medicine, but we believe the biggest effort we have to do is to create a healthy environment for spirit, soul, and body first. And this will take care of most of our challenges. We have set up our own integrative health hospital, our own integrative health insurance system. So our community members have our own integrative health insurance system to make sure that they get all these services in their insurance system for free.
When we're talking about association, right? This was entitled "What is Association?" And what you actually mean association of all, first of all, of all these different enterprises in Sikkim, which work together. Is that right?
In the economic context, when we speak about the association, it's the association in the supply chain. So we are speaking about in our kind of products, from the farmer to the consumer and everybody related to this supply chain, which through services, directly or indirect services, are many, many people in our communities, of course, including the teacher, including the physician, and so on, because all of them have a role to play for the bigger economic added value. So, yes, but we follow the supply chain and try to really make sure that there is partnership, cooperation, transparency in the supply chain for all related stakeholders.
And how, you know, we're here, World Gaudianum Association Asia, right? And what can you see, what, you know, could people and enterprises, entrepreneurs here in this part of the world, what could they possibly do to go towards association?
I mean, they have to find partners on the farming side if they are in processing, or on the processing and trading side if they are on the farming side. They have to find, first of all, partners with whom they can, in a trustful, deep relationship, transparent relationship, cooperate. And if then they can also connect to the consumer in a way which is transparent and open, with clear communication and transparent communication, then this would be the next step according to our experience. Of course, it needs entrepreneurship behind. It needs people who are entrepreneurial and who have ideas, and who have ideas for new products according to the real needs of the consumer, not the needs created by television and advertisement, but the real needs of the consumer.
All right, thank you very much. I'm not sure there's a question from Ding Zhizhen from China. How much money did Sikkim invest in soil improvement? How much was invested per acre?
This is a difficult question for me now, the 45 years to try to recall. But in the farms where we started 2 years ago, 2019, and they are not yet perfect soils. Huh? I just know the numbers there because they are very fresh numbers. And in the investment into living soils is the biggest investment of the whole farm. So we are speaking about thousands of euros because it is compost, it's crop rotation, it's green manure, a lot of things which we do at the beginning to create the living soil which we need to have crops later on. And this is why I told you to reach break even in Sikkim at the very beginning, it took us 7 years.
All righty, thanks very much. So we're coming, I think, slowly towards the end because actually, Helmy, you had said you can do 1.5 hours. We're a little over that. We have maybe one question here, and because I see the first biodynamic farmer here from Vietnam, Son, I would actually give him the chance also to say something when after this question, if you want, Son. So the question here is still, in the first year of the establishment of the community, how did you build relationships or cooperate with local farmers to gain support? I mean, the first part, I guess, how did you build relationships? Maybe that's the one.
I mean, the one picture just for Son, which for sure he cannot do in Vietnam, but I'm just giving him this picture. When we started in the desert, at the very beginning, there was nothing, sand and a tent, and we started to make a well and so on and so on. The very two first investments were a tractor to start working on the soil and a piano to make music. And with this crazy picture, which nobody understood, there was a relationship there. It was clear to the people that this is not only about cultivating potatoes for exports, it is about culture, music, and we did this from the first day, and we are continuously doing it until today.
And you play the piano, right?
And I play the piano, yes, but not always for everyone. There are many, many more and better piano players in Sikkim than me.
Okay, so I think just before or just when I said, talked about Son from Vietnam, I think he just disappeared. It had nothing to do with me, but it was coincidence. I think he disappeared. But there's Tu Pam, who I think directs a very beautiful community in Vietnam. Tu Pam, do you have a question or do you want to say something? And after that, I think we would maybe finish. So please, I'll switch on your tone. Or yeah, please, Tu.
Okay, thank you very much, Gonter, and thank you, Hermes, for your presentation. Yes, I'm very much interested in your website, and I look into the education and all the program. I noticed that you have also a group of people with the special needs. And how do you include these people to your work, to your farm, and especially how do they receive also the benefits from Sikkim, from your organization? Thank you, Richard Letter.
You mean how we pay salaries? Is this the question?
Yeah, yes, it's a question. How do you include the people? How do you create the work and the job for the people with special needs in the farm works? And how do they receive them?
Now I got you. I'm sorry, I didn't get the question. We are very happy that we, from the very beginning, we have a very successful school for people and kids with special needs. And our belief is that everyone has potential. Those with special needs even more than obvious than those without. And so we create over the time of their being in our school with each one of them a career path, if you wish, and we find for him the right place where he can serve the community and work, whether it's in garment production or in the animal husbandry, where many of them are much better than people without special needs, or in gardening, or in a workshop, or wherever else. These people are our blessing. These people are acknowledged by all of our second community as the people with the highest added value in the working environment.
Super. Thanks very much, too, for this question. Is it okay? 2 questions, maybe that we can combine still, and then please, my dear friends.
Walter, I'm not in a hurry. I told you
hey.
I don't believe that the people will stay with us for 2 hours. But if there are questions, I'm happy to answer.
That's wonderful. Now I know. Okay, that's great. Okay, so first, I'll connect the 2 questions. Elfie from Shanghai, obviously under lockdown. She asks, is the biodiversity of Sikkim based more about indigenous plants or economic plants? I guess it's understandable what she means, right? And then Tanas, she's asking, the compost, when you started in the desert, what was the compost materials? What did you use for composting?
Yes, these are nice questions. Now, let me start with the biodiversity one first by just saying we are creating, we have a seed bank, we have a botanical garden. We are very fond of our indigenous plants, which have high value, not only plants, also bees and animals and everything. And we try to make sure that these indigenous plants and animals and so on are kept and used in the best possible way in our ecosystem. So we have respect and studies on indigenous plants and animals in all of our ecosystems, and we keep them. In regard to what we grow, we are working with this plant material to breed and adapt and improve on indigenous seeds and plants, to use them because they very often have much superior abilities to sustain certain diseases and insects and so on than the conventional ones, which have higher yields but higher needs for pesticides and so on and so on. So we are working with this topic in a proactive way by creating our own seed banks. We have our own seed production for our farmers and ourselves, and we have our own botanical gardens to show this to our school kids, community members, and students. So we are very fond of the topic of a rich biodiversity and celebrate this rich biodiversity and work on this material to use it also in our day-to-day life. We are not closing it to this kind of seeds. We have also seeds from outside, but it's a combination of what we think is the most wise and resilient thing to do. Okay, so this is in regard to the biodiversity. The other question now dropped my mind because I was in the
that was the question about how the first composts were made. What materials could you use?
Yes. When we started, we had this question of the chicken or the egg. We had to buy in organic manure, organic material to create our first compost heaps, which was not produced outside, inside, to grow the first fields, to have our own organic feed, to have our own cows. We started quite early, and it was only 1 or 2 or 3 years until we had this in place. But obviously we started with both in organic material and manure.
It's also very beautiful to enjoy some silence with 150 people watching a screen. The Chinese questions that are coming, I cannot read. I guess if they're meant really for all, they would be translated. Okay, that I think was quite amazing. And in fact, I think I will answer this question of Nakorn from Thailand, that there was so much material in this conversation that it's very well worth to watch it again and pick out all the jewels, because it was way too fast to write in my notebook. So I will, in fact, for those who are interested, I will put it on YouTube for a while. And yeah, there's a question, do special needs children work in the farm?
Yes, yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I think with that, I would close it, Helmy. Is that okay? Yeah, there are, okay, Ricardo, of course, comes with very interesting questions. I'm not sure if you can see it, Helmy. How can one ensure individual growth so that individual potential keeps flourishing in your context, which is such a large-scale organization?
By providing everyone the space. So we provide to every one of the community members space to follow his potential and to learn to know more about himself. And many of our employees come to us and say, oh, I didn't know that I can sing. I didn't know that I can paint. I didn't know that I can play theater, when they do it. And so we offer to them a wide range of offerings, and they can connect, and they have up to 10% of the time dedicated to this. And yeah, and many of them find themselves on this path.
There was, I was also wondering, you said 10% of the time they spent on individual development. That is really a lot. I mean, I know from Veleda, I think it's 1 hour per week, but 10%, that's 4 hours, no? That's half a day. Does everybody use that, or are there people who say, no, I don't want to do so much art, or how is it, how do the people select what do they do and how do they do it?
I mean, we learn every day, I told you, Walter. At the beginning, they were more selecting what they want. At the moment, we are trying to make sure that over a certain period of years, they follow a path where they are, in a way, learning the 16 sacred vision goals from different aspects, so that they can, in the end, after the 3-4 years, after being exposed to different experiences, different dimensions of life, first of all, learn in a holistic way. Second, find their connection to the things which they really can connect to. And very often, when they select today, they select what they think is in their potential. And many of us don't know that we have other potentials which are hidden, and we just have to activate them. So our current path is more following a holistic curriculum over the 4 dimensions for everyone, over 3 years.
is there a difference in, approach then, like, when people are set free to choose, first they are not used to it and it's maybe hard to do that for them, but if they're more used to the curriculum, no? But now your people are already very used to choosing and now they're being exposed to your curriculum. How is that?
They have then a possibility, those who are following this path, and this is everyone from the 2000s, have then also the freedom to deepen certain things according to their needs. And we support them on this too, giving them the possibility to deepen certain fields of interest. But we want them all to have a holistic panorama of dimensions in their souls, bodies and spirit, from which they can choose.
Wonderful. So towards the end, may I mention again, there are websites that if they haven't been studied so far, it's really worthwhile. economyoflove.net, no? economyoflove.net. Helmy, is it .net?
Ask me something easy. I do not
I know.
I think so, yes.
Okay, you have to search Economy of Love. I think it's .net and then secem.com.
Yes.
Those two websites are really worth studying. And if you go to YouTube or also China has on Baidu or so, you'll find material, video material on Secem. There's a lot of inspirational stuff from more than 40 years of amazing work. So we were very lucky to be able to have your thoughts, have all your experiences. We could ask questions, and thank you very much. And we wish you now, like all other Muslims, we wish you, how do we say, happy, very good and beautiful Eid al Fitr, and wherever it's called, it's also called differently in different places. But you call it how?
Kullu sana wa tayyib.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it is a blessed Eid which we wish to ourselves.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of you. Thank you, and I hope we stay connected.
Yes, thank you, Helmy. See you later. And we'll see you on the website.
Yes.
Regards from Bali, Indonesia.
My best regards to everyone, everywhere.
Bye.
Yeah. Thank you, Walter, in Philippines. We're just starting our farm and BD here. You're welcome.
Very
Super.
good. Great.
Yep.